welcome to this segment of Healing Conversations with Coach V. I am Coach V, certified life coach and personal growth expert with SVM Initiatives, LLC. Today, we have as our guest Tralana Vir'Den, co-owner of A Willing Vessel Productions and Entertainment. She's here today to share her story of struggle, triumph, and the personal steps she took to heal. Tralana.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. So, as you already know, the premise of the show is to share your personal journey of healing after experiencing whatever life situation that you want to share with us today. So just to give our viewers a point of reference, first introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm Tralana Vir'Den. To start off with my journey, I am a recovering alcoholic.
Okay.
I work full time. I have two beautiful children, and I am the co-owner of A Willing Vessel Production and Entertainment, and we do God's Marketplace that supports small business in Cincinnati.
Okay. So before we get all the juicy details of a God's Marketplace, because I did have an opportunity to attend one of your wonderful events. Are you from Cincinnati? You're
Yes,
from locally in the area?
Yep,
Okay.
I want a Hillian.
Okay. Go Eagles.
Right.
Go Eagles. Okay. So what I want to touch on now so that we can kind of get a flavor of who Tralana Vir'Den is, you'd mentioned that you are a recovering alcoholic. How many years of recovery do you have?
I currently have 4 years under my belt.
Okay, then. High five.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So again, just as for a perspective standpoint, can you just share with us just a little bit about what led you to substance abuse, right? And then after we get that perspective, then I want to hear all the good stuff about God's Marketplace and about your healing, and so we can help some folks today, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about you.
Before I started drinking, I was working for a very prominent bank, working 40 plus hours a week, second in my district.
Okay.
There came a point in time in my life where I just started to not be able to stop. And what I mean by not being able to stop, I wasn't able to sleep very well. I'd have moments where I would make very erratic and sporadic decisions. They just weren't rational and were not myself. At this time, I had just had my son, and then shortly after that, found out I was pregnant with my daughter.
Surprise.
Yes. So two of my beautiful children just, out of the blue. So it started to compile itself.
Okay.
And I had gone to the doctor. However, the doctor just hadn't really addressed the issue much further than, you just need to de-stress a little bit, you need to relax a little bit. And of course, with me being in my mid-20s, going out and partying is the solution to everything. Going out and burning some steam, you work hard, you play hard, that type of philosophy.
Right.
So I started drinking.
Okay.
And it became from something that I just did occasionally to something that ended up happening every single day. Like I needed it in order to get to sleep. I needed it in order to slow down. I had at this point it escalated very, very quickly. And there were interventions, and my children were put on a safety plan. My life just fell apart very, very, very quickly. I went into rehab and was diagnosed with bipolar manic 1.
Okay.
So basically, I can go 1,000 miles an hour for a couple of days, and then after that, after a week and a half of not sleeping, I'll crash.
Right.
So
my body shuts down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was using alcohol to self-medicate, and the magnitude of what was happening to me didn't really take hold. So even though I went into rehab, I still didn't believe I had a problem. I still thought it was okay, because nobody really, people in my family were alcoholics. Drinking is what we do.
Right.
And then as my life continued to deteriorate, my job, my children, my home, my car, just everything that made me, or I thought at the time, made me Tralana, disappeared. And it was just crazy that when you go into those places where you're drinking and leaving yourself vulnerable, other things in your life start to creep up. So memories started to pop back, concerning rape. While I was leaving myself vulnerable and drinking, I was raped again.
Okay.
They had put me on medications, and I was in a halfway house. And at the time, the medications were intended to slow me down and put me to sleep, but they were too much. And at that time, I ended up being assaulted. So just a lot of things that were happening to me, and because I had lost my children,
Mm-hmm.
I allowed a lot of those things to happen to me because I felt like, Tralana, you lost your kids.
Yeah.
That's just like, you don't really deserve to have too much anything in life. So whatever scrapes that the God's dropping on you, you need to just be happy, and whatever penance he's throwing your way, you just need to take it.
I want to touch on a couple things here. In addition to me being a certified life coach and a personal growth expert in my practice, I recently became a certified peer recovery coach in addictions and mental health. So I just want to make sure that we touch on that for the viewers, so that I'm a firm believer, even before I went after these certifications, I'm a firm believer that people choose whatever coping mechanism, but that's an effect. There's usually an underlying reason or something else, and they just chose, hey, I'm going to do this to kind of cover up. The example I use for people is, a lot of times when people are stressed or experiencing life, they exercise, they drink, they eat.
Yeah.
It's just whatever their poison is at that moment. They smoke, whatever it is at that moment. So would you agree, you're nodding affirmatively, but would you agree that at that time in your life, as you mentioned, you were covering up something? There were other memories that were suppressed, or that maybe you didn't give attention to, and you just chose alcohol to cover up those things.
Right, most definitely.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of how much pain I was in. And part of the stress is me having children brought a lot of those things to the surface, like me being overly protective,
Yes.
Having issues with being touched that I had my whole entire life. I wasn't aware that these things directly came from what had happened to me before, because I had completely blocked it out.
Exactly.
And then like the abusive relationships I was in was also a direct reflection, because to me it felt natural. To me it was, you're like, well, this is what people do, isn't it?
This is how they show love.
Right. This is passion.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy how those things can be misconstrued in your mind because you just don't see anything different. So.
I share with you a candid moment. But I share with you, I experienced 4.5 years. I lost custody of my child. So I know as a mom how that feels, in that pain, and going through the mentality of, you don't even have your kids, so you ain't worth, anything else.
Right.
And there has to be some real grassroots, underlying, looking in the mirror type of work to come out of that space.
Yes.
So I want to, if I may, just say congratulations to you for finding your way out of that. Because again, I'm not just sympathizing, I empathize with that.
Yes,
and I know there's some viewers that are going to watch and, have that same experience. Not identical, but something similar. So I'm hoping, my intent is that you and I serve as some form of hope, for someone who may be going through those type of situations. So I'm grateful at this moment that you're sharing that with us today.
Yes. More women need to know it. And I'm sorry to make
Absolutely.
But they do, because I worked for a state at Talbot House, and there are tons of women out there, and it's taboo. Like, we can't lose our kids. We can't struggle.
Yes.
We can't go through these things, and you're a mother, and you did.
Yeah.
No, it happens. And that stigma is what keeps a lot of us down, because we're like, well, I don't even have my kids. You can still get your life back, because that's the whole point. You can't take care of them if you can't take care of you.
Yes.
So, I mean, that ain't
Tralana
good.
about to make us have church today. but you're correct, and a lot of times we're taught, put my kids first. But I learned that I have to make sure I'm good first.
Yes.
And when I speak with a lot of my clients, I explain that to them too, and help them understand that mindset that if you're not right, no one else around you is going to be right.
Exactly.
So you got to make sure you're whole and complete. So with that statement in mind, what was your turning point? What was the point that made you say, let me pick up myself by my bootstraps and get it together?
I have to say, I was at a living in a situation where I will call it a halfway house, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know if I can mention it or not, but it's Tender Mercies.
Yeah.
Basically for those that have been through traumatic circumstances, they give you a stable housing so you can attempt to start getting your life on track.
Yes.
And I once again have found myself in another abusive relationship, verbally just tearing me down. And this person literally ran over me. And I don't know, after almost 2 to 3 weeks of just drinking continuously, making myself sick to my stomach, and taking the verbal abuse, taking, the beratement, taking the being talked about, taking the being stared at, God literally came to me and was like, this is it.
Right.
You know, you need to get upset, you need to get mad, you need
Right.
to protect yourself, and you need to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you a way out. You need a better way to cope. And, you know, these people are stepping on you, and you don't deserve it. You deserve so much more.
Right.
So I'm going to give you this choice. You either take it or you keep laying right there. And
Okay.
for
I spine saying,
Right.
I'm like, I ain't even in a situation. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Okay.
Right.
Good.
And I mean, and I have been praying for so long for a way out, and for God to speak to me that clearly. For 3 days, I sat in that bedroom and I hallucinated. I heard voices.
Yeah.
I cried to my mother. I cried to God. I cried to every single ex that abused me. I cried to my children, asking for their forgiveness. I cried to my father that didn't, you know, understand me or and didn't support me. I let all that stuff wash over me.
Yes.
And on that 3rd day, I came out weak, stomach messed up, couldn't eat nothing, lost like 30 pounds.
Okay.
That's the only good thing now, but no. But I mean, weight
Look at
loss.
the silver lining.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, weight loss, and from that day to this, I've never picked up again.
Okay.
And I've never been able to do anything else in my life with that level of completeness, except recommit myself to my life, you know, than drinking. That's it. I literally woke up and said, I can't do this anymore. And God was like, okay.
Do you think that at the point when you were experiencing the abusive relationships repeatedly, do you think that there may have been low self-esteem or
most
low
definitely.
self-worth? Yeah.
I don't know if people know, but I went through the weight loss surgery. And I tell you, when I was a bigger girl, I mean, but I still like my curves.
Hey now.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
But I mean, I feel like I could conquer the world. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
But when I lost the weight and started getting more attention, it was like I didn't know what to do with it.
Right. It was
and
new.
And then on top of it, it felt wrong. Because I'm just like, I haven't really changed. I changed, but I haven't changed. So what was so wrong with me then? Was it just the weight? Well then, you know what I mean? It made me feel cheap. And I fell into that. And I was like, well then if this is all it's about, then I should look for nothing more.
Okay.
And so yeah, it had a lot to do with my self-esteem.
I'm just loving the transparency. I'm loving the transparency because we are unfortunately in a society where everything is fake.
Yeah.
You know, on many levels. And one of my intents in a show like this, of this content, is to show everyone, again, we done been through some things.
Right.
You know, and we don't forget going through them things.
Right.
You know, but just to be a beacon of hope for someone who may still be experiencing something similar.
Yes.
And I know I'm repeating it because I wanted to hit home.
Yes.
You know, I want whatever platform, whether it's on TV, whether it's on the YouTubes,
Yes.
you know, whatever platform, I just want to be able to help. And I really feel like even though we're in the beginning of our conversation, that there's just so much valuable information that's being spewed out amongst us that we gonna help some folks to save some souls
Right,
today.
most definitely.
Save some souls today. Cool.
Most definitely.
So at the point, because I call it a transition, so at the point that you were transitioning from, if I may say, the old Tralana to the rebirth Tralana 2.0, what were some of the early behaviors or thought patterns that you took to help you get to the lady that you are today?
I have to say this, anger was a very big part.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people don't like to say, you know, part of their healing was anger. Part of my healing was anger.
Yeah,
I have been
that's
abused,
real.
yeah, for so long. Like anybody that stepped in my vicinity, if I didn't invite you, you needed to back up.
Right.
And it was not so much about me wanting to be a bully. It was just I had found something and I was trying to protect it. So don't come and call me nothing outside of Tralana.
Yes.
Don't call me, you know, don't come to me and ask me to scoot over without saying excuse. Nothing, because I needed to build her.
Yes.
And I had to take a whole lot of time to get that anger all the way back down to a normal frequency, because you feel so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, but then after that just came a whole bunch of joy.
So how before we get to the joy, how did you cope with the anger? Did you seek counseling? Did you self-heal? Did you journal? Did you talk? How did you transition from your anger? Yeah.
I did see counseling. Tender Mercies had counselors. I was actually seeing 2 at the time.
Okay. Double up.
Yeah, most definitely, because I needed my spirit needed healing.
Yes.
On top of me dealing with the substance abuse, because I did quit cold turkey, and whether people believe it or not, you can do it. You know what I mean? It's not unheard of. So don't let someone tell you what you can't do. I'll say that. Yes. But spiritually, you know, I had to prioritize the people that I had around me.
Absolutely.
I had to reevaluate why I was angry. I had to go back. I didn't go all the way back like to my childhood, but I had to go back to those sad places in my life, and I had to address it. I had to say it out loud. I had to say it to other people. Yeah. I had to make it known and make myself comfortable with how I was feeling. That way, I knew you can't take from me what I'm building, because I'm creating it. Yes. So you can only damage it if I give it to you, if I let you in. So I had to take my time with things. Yeah. And when you get brand new, but in a good sense, you do want to go out and you want to tell people like, yeah, I'm feeling better, I'm doing better. Yeah. You just can't. You got to take your time. Yeah. You got to. And it's worth it.
You're dropping so many jewels, and I'm trying to keep up with them so we can drive some points home. One of the things that you touched on was that you knew that you had to release and overcome that anger, and that you knew that, there were some ugly things that you had to touch on and revisit, but not everything. You didn't go all the way back to your childhood, but there are some important moments that you felt like, no, I need to clear this up, I need to address it, I need to release it, whatever space that you chose to go under. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's going through that same process about how they can, or maybe how you picked and chose, okay, which situation I need to address and what I can leave alone completely? Like, what process did you go through to decide what was addressable and what wasn't?
Right. You have to find somebody you trust. Okay. And if you can't find somebody you trust, be okay with judgment. Yes. Because what's most important is getting it off your spirit, getting it out loud, because it's not you being afraid of it, it's it being afraid of you. The more you keep it inside of you. So most definitely, I had to be okay. I had to find somebody that I trusted, and I did. And believe it or not, it was a man, which was a surprise to me. But he kept men, I hate to say it, all that, not hate to say, excuse me, but all that emotion, they're like, okay, you're emotional. Let's get to the logic. Yes. And that's what he did for me. He said, I understand that. He said, but here's your pawn, here's your king, here's your queen. Let's move around all of that extra. And when I did that, he's like, okay, you hit your son when he was 2 years old, and he didn't deserve it, but you were drunk and you weren't in your right mind. Right. Okay, we hit that. Say it out loud again. Right. Say it out loud again. Say it out loud again. Yes. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so you walked up and down Ruddy Road asking for change when you was drunk. Okay, you did that. You did that. You did that. You stole from your sister who is now deceased. You did that. You did that. You did that. You stole from your mother. You cussed out your mother. You stole from your father. Okay, you did that. You did that. You did that. Now, where are you now? Right. And we just kept doing that and kept doing it and kept doing it to the point now where you can come to me and be like, oh, you heard about that about me? Right. You probably heard it from me telling somebody else, and then they told you. Right. So, yeah, I know all about Let's be clear. I know all about it. It ain't nothing. Once you get to that place where you're comfortable with your mistakes, you can do anything.
And that's one of the concepts that I teach my clients when they're going through a situation for personal growth. One, owning it doesn't mean in your private space I acknowledge it. There's more to that, right? Sometimes we have a saying that it ain't real until you told somebody. Even when you're looking at quote unquote positive aspects, if I'm talking about making this move, but I'm the only one that know about it, it ain't real till I tell you, because then you gonna come and ask me, Coach V, did you do this? So it's not real until we talk about it. So I'm glad that you said that. Secondly, another exercise that I go over with my clients is once you're able to remove the emotion, because emotion, it can be a good thing, but then in certain situations of growth, it can be a not so good thing because it puts us in a space of remaining victim. Yeah. We're so caught up in that emotion. No, I want you to know I feel bad. Yes. I want you to know they did this to me. I want you to know. Okay. So let's get all that out. Now that we've removed that obstacle, we're still left with the problem, correct? Right. Well, yeah. Okay, so now let's get a course of action. Let's form a strategy of how we're going to overcome this.
Yes.
And I think that it's important that you share that, because there's so many people walking around in a victim mentality.
Yes.
We all do it. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But there has to be a point where we take responsibility.
Yep.
And that's when the real work starts. So I'm really appreciative that you touched on that, because somebody needed to hear that today.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to hear that. So at the point that you said, okay, I'm doing this, I'm making these moves, I'm going to just tell everybody I meet and yell it from the mountaintops, I'm sure you may have encountered some people who didn't want to hear it.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I'm 4 years in, still dealing with people that can't accept me, because once you get sober, you're not ever who you were. Yeah. And you're not who you were when you were drinking. And believe it or not, a lot of people liked you when you were drinking.
Absolutely.
Even those that love you best, or loved you when you were in the midst of your addiction, because you're far more passive, you're more moldable.
Absolutely.
They can get you to do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And talk about you behind your back.
Yeah, because you're feeding that addiction, and at that time you're very primal. You're not searching for any type of validation from anybody. You want your drink, you want your hit, you want whatever you're searching for.
Yeah.
So I'm still dealing with the fact that a lot of people find me very hard to take, even though I'm the kindest person on the planet, and I would never hurt a soul.
Very gentle spirit. I agree. Very gentle spirit.
But also, I don't take no stuff because I don't deserve it, and I'm not gonna give you nothing that I wouldn't want myself.
I like how when you said you don't deserve it, you stiffened up and I don't deserve it. I like that. That's that conviction. I believe what you're saying. A lot of times people who are with us in a dark moment in life, we can no longer serve them and their tragedy when we rise up. Mm-hmm. So that's why they don't like us when we grow. Yeah. But that's okay. We're here for the people that want to grow as well. Right. It's levels to this. Yeah. So when you were dealing with and weeding out, who can stay, who got to be released, did you find that you attracted more people who could help you on your journey, or who loved you for who you are today?
Most definitely. Bringing to light my husband.
Okay.
A lot of people say that when you are in the midst of especially your first year of recovering, you should not date.
Okay.
However, I decided to get sober in December. I met my now husband, in January.
So you did what you wanted to do.
Right. Okay. Because, that's whole part of the instant gratification. Yes. I get it. Yes. But, yes. But in the midst of that, God sent me who I needed. Mm-hmm. He completely accepted where I was in my life, and he has not touched a drop since he met me.
Really?
And
you inspired change in him as well.
Yes. Well, he doesn't have that type of personality. Okay. But he was like that. If that's your weakness, babe, I'm not gonna bring it around you.
So he was supportive.
Yes, very supportive.
100% supportive.
Very supportive.
Shout out.
And vessel. But and he was my knight in shining armor. Anybody that came my way, he said, "No, that's my baby. You're not about to infect anything that she's doing right here. I need her to push forward." And he's been that driving force ever since. And I'm very family oriented. My circle is very small.
And I get that vibe from him, from meeting him. I get that vibe of protector. We plays no games.
Yes.
So when the two of you got together, got married, how did the movement that y'all have, because I'll let you mention and talk about it, how did that come into play?
Well, Willie Vessel Production and Entertainment is my husband's baby.
Okay.
He's faith-based.
Okay.
So having a DJ that tries to center himself around God, his message, the music that, is praising God's name, is difficult to get a market for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's out there, but not very much. So God's Marketplace moved into place as a promotion effort for Willie Vessel Production Entertainment. Okay. And what I realized is that there's a lot of people out there doing their own personal thing and working their 40-hour-a-week job and doing their very best and enjoying it, and it's their passion.
Yes, yes.
And there's these vendor events that are out there, and I'm not downing them, but they cost so much.
Yes.
So, why can't I try to find, places for us to go, promote your business, and all of us work together as best we can, and do it for a nominal fee, and keep doing it with integrity, with honesty, even at a cost or loss, to yourself. Okay. So, small business is my passion. I love my vendors. I love what we do. New Prospect Baptist Church has been a blessing to us, and we're moving forward because a willing vessel wants to go into, concerts for the youth, fundraisers, drives. Dearest Crawley, a singer that we have with us, is moving on to bigger and better things. That's just what we want.
Okay.
And
so if people want to learn more about God's Marketplace and a Willing Vessel Productions and Entertainment,
yes,
DJ Vessel, how can they find you and your husband?
We're currently on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. I'm under Tralana Vir'Den, and you can find us God's Marketplace group on Facebook. There's nothing extra to join, just like if you choose God as your Lord and Savior, nothing extra, you just do it.
Right.
And you can promote. I promote other events on the page, so it's not just us, it's just any opportunities out there, any chance to get your name out there. You want to do some holiday shopping, go look at our page because they're all local vendors.
And I just want to reiterate, God's Marketplace is held
at New Prospect Baptist Church in Roseline.
And I know all that information is in the group on Facebook because Coach V's in the group on Facebook.
Yes.
So I know. And I've also had the pleasure of attending a God's Marketplace and speaking a few moments. Then I left out with more bags than I intended because I brought my children with me. So I can vouch about the space and the energy and the fellowship at God's Marketplace. So, and again, you're on Facebook under God's Marketplace.
God's Marketplace.
And then on Twitter, tell me your Twitter handle again.
Tralana, Tralana, and then Vir'Den, Virden.
Okay, very good. So folks can find you there and become a part of the movement.
Most definitely.
Right. Good. Well, I told you the time goes so quick once we get started talking, right? So, real quick, what one sentence can you tell the people watching as a form of encouragement or your personal mantra?
Hang on.
Hang on. Sweet to the point.
Hang on.
2 words.
Right, because it may not come while you're living, I said, but it's going to come. God has not left us in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Hang on.
Absolutely. Hang on. And is that something that you presently today use as your personal reminder?
Oh, yeah.
Hang on through every moment?
Things get bad, I'm hanging on.
Yeah.
The devil come and he's standing right in front of me taunting, I'm hanging on.
Yes.
And, my kids, they questioning me, they things coming up from my past, I'm hanging on.
Absolutely.
Because he ain't failed me yet.
Yes. My spine tingling. Well, as a small token of appreciation for you choosing to be a guest on the show and being so open and candid and sharing your story and letting us know where we can do our holiday shopping, I would like to give you, because the new thing is wristbands, right?
Yes, I have like 1,000 of my love them.
Well, 1,001.
Right.
And it says Healing Conversations with Coach V. Just a reminder that you were here to share with people that you were here, this healing movement. And I'm thank you. I'm just really appreciative that you were here today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's
no
a blessing.
Problem, no
blessing.
problem. Thank you. So this has been such a powerful conversation today, but unfortunately, it's the end of our time. So thank you so much for tuning in to Healing Conversations with Coach V. Again, I am Coach V, certified life coach and personal growth expert with SVM Initiatives, LLC. You can also find me on Facebook at SVM Initiatives, LLC. And don't forget to check in with God's Marketplace as well. We'll see you next time.